As Rangers fans, we know that a goaltender is the backbone of a hockey team. At Abundant Wealth Management, we are your financial backbone, offering financial planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate planning services. To schedule your free consultation, head to www.abundant-wealth.com. That's www.abundant-wealth.com. Abundant Wealth Management. Live, plan, triumph.
You're listening to Rangers Radio, your home for end-to-end coverage of the New York Rangers. With your hosts, Brendan Azoff, Zach Domino, and Steve Pappas. Blue Shirts fans, the puck drops now.
Well, this is a good sign. Brendan's already off. The internet has failed us once again, much like the start of the season for the New York Rangers. We're gonna stall as much as we can until he can get back in to the studio. But Rangers lose 3-0 in their opening. It felt like 5-0 in their opening game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mike Sullivan, his first game as a New York Rangers head coach. Against his old team, and Dan Muse getting his first win as a head coach in the National Hockey League. Brendan is back, so let's get him back in there. Holy, what a good start!
It's absolutely ridiculous, man. I came on, no audio, nothing. I started panicking, and I'm like, you know what? If the Rangers are going to have a crap start, it's only fitting that our first episode of the season is off to a crap start too.
I was gonna say, it seems like it's part of the stage right now. Just all of us are not doing well.
It's tough, man. Now I can't even go on my rant because of that. No, I definitely will go on my rant. Don't worry. Did you break any of the good news though?
I did not break any of the good news. We didn't.
Right.
We do have really good news, and it's partially why Zach is not here today. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have gone on his rant of whatever he watched. But he's got more important things in life right now.
Yes, he does. So our co-host Zach just welcomed, along with his wife, welcomed their first child. So they are in the hospital, prepping for that. Everybody is healthy, and it's a good thing. So I know that the one thing Zach said about the game was that it's a great day when a piss poor Rangers performance can't bring down your mood. So congratulations to both him and his wife, and everybody's happy and healthy, which is what we like to hear. So hopefully he'll be back with us next week. But right now he's dealing with some much more important things.
Yeah, Lord only knows what that feels like when something like that can't ruin your day. Because
I can't wait because I could tell you mine was ruined.
Well, you were there. You had the fortitude of spending money to go and watch that night.
Oh, that's part of my rant.
Okay, all right. It was. I felt that was the one thing. Like I didn't have to spend money. I actually made money. I took the Penguins. I saw that line and was like, of course. Like I've seen this trap before, so I made some money off that game last night. However, for the people that spent money on that game, that's not great.
It was a tough feeling. I made money as well because I took the under. I didn't trust the Rangers to score enough to carry the over, not thinking they'd get shut out, but that kind of helped my cause at the end. But that wasn't enough to make me happy in the moment. And it was one of those games where about 15 seconds in, I knew they were in trouble just because I saw JT Miller kind of hobbling around the ice. And I can't tell you how many times, and I give kudos to all these NHL players that played through injuries, particularly in the postseason. But if you are game 1 of 82 battling something that you are not 100% ready to play opening night, there is no need to push it and spend the entire 82 game season playing through an injury. It is just, it's stupid. It's stupid to do to your own health, and it's stupid to do to the team, especially somebody as important as JT Miller. So that was the first concern that I had. Otherwise, they spent the entire 59 seconds before the Fox drew the penalty in their own zone. So that was a tough thing. But the second highest average cost for a team in the NHL per ticket is the New York Rangers at $315. Right. And there was a sellout crowd last night at MSG. Everybody was excited for the new season to open up. And everybody was there a little bit, on edge, not knowing exactly what to expect. But it's a lowly Pittsburgh Penguins team. They have the optimism opening night, and they come out and they just lay a flat stinker. And I tried, along with you, and not to the level of that Zook got, but I tried to be optimistic in the offseason. And I tried to say last year, You got to forget it, right? A crazy amount of things happened. Don't worry about last year. This is a new year, new coach. They're going to come back with a little bit of a vengeance. And they picked up exactly where they left off. It was just an atrocity in their own end. People can argue about giving Igor his contract, but if you don't even have Igor in that game, it's not 1-0 in the third period. And I don't care if you're paying your goalie $11.5 million a year. If you don't have anybody else on the roster that could do anything, doesn't matter. So I'm fine with Igor's contract because he's literally the only player on this team that's absolved from criticism today. It was one of the most lifeless performances I've ever seen. Forget the fact that it's the season opener at home. It's also your former coach, your new coach coaching against his former team while your former assistant coach is making his NHL debut. You would think the players have a little bit more jump to their step, and they just look completely at a loss. Mika Zibanejad was probably one of their better forwards, and I still think he had a crap game. So there was not one person that I looked at and said, oh, they played well tonight. It was a complete abomination across the board. And my optimism level is there is no optimism level. It's in the toilet right now. And I would not be surprised if this team is a bottom feeder the rest of the year, unless by some miracle they decide that they want to wake up and play hockey again. Because it is a bunch of people from the top end players like Artemi Panarin, who's in a contract year and won't sign a team friendly deal because he's the only free agent that won't do it, to the bottom players like Matt Rempe, who just is not an NHL caliber player. All those guys were absolutely atrocious. And that's not even including the defense, who Gavrikov looked like crap. And the other bottom four defensemen, I'm not even going to talk about because that's just an absolute ridiculous situation that Chris Drury decided to go into the season with that. So it looked like a team that could really use some young scoring wingers. Like, I don't know, if they only had like Gabe Perreault or Brennan Othman, Brett Berard, those kind of guys, and a puck-moving defenseman, like, I don't know, maybe a Scott Morrow. Those are the types of prospects this team really needs, and it's a shame they don't have anybody like that.
Oh, boy. Game 1 of the year, we're already
game
doing
one.
This is
fantastic. I told you 2 weeks ago that it would take me 5 minutes into the first game before I had my judgment for the season. Done. Pissed off. Pissed.
Oh, boy. I mean, I think I would have probably a lot more emotion if I did spend the money to be there.
That's all it was. If I was home, I'd be. That's one game.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. And listen, I like you said, came into this season with a little bit of optimism that, like, hey, maybe everything last year just all snowballed on and of itself, and it can't be that bad again. And again, we're one game into the year, so it'd be very dumb to judge off of one game. However, the more I started watching the preseason, and I think my favorite tweet that I saw from last night during the game was game 83. And that's what it felt like. Like it felt like I watched that game 7 times in the, at least 7 times last year. So it just felt like an extension of last year. Like the more I watched the preseason, the more I started to realize that, this team might not be great. They might not be a playoff team this year. I think what frustrated me the most is just, it felt like a lack of effort. Like I've never seen a team almost look exhausted playing their first game of the year. And on top of that, doing it at home, doing it with Mike Sullivan's debut against his old team, debuting the Centennial jerseys, which, oh my God, those things are
that
good.
Was the best part of the game. Those were beautiful on the ice.
And I know we had talked about, those like cream pants, maybe going with those. The red pants those pants that they were with yesterday, perfect.
It worked. Everything
about those jerseys are perfect. That was like, I saw non-Ranger fans talking about it, that it's, one of the best jerseys of all time. And, to go out there and get shut out on home ice for getting shut out in your home opener. Listen, with 100 years of Rangers hockey, it's only happened 6 times. That was the 6th time. So, we witnessed something that doesn't happen very often. But I think that was, at least in my lifetime. So in my lifetime, going from 1998 to now, that was one of the worst, if not the worst, opening game that I've seen. Like, that was a team in Pittsburgh that is probably going to be, battling for the number 1 overall pick this year, and you made them look like a competent team, which I'm sure most teams will not make them look like this year. But outside of that first minute, right, they were hemmed into their own zone. I didn't think the first period was that bad, and then that face-off play, man, like, it's in seeing the discourse about it. Like, obviously, you can't throw everything on one person, and I know I had said, that's Lafreniere. He just completely vacated He watched the puck. He was watching the puck, didn't see where his guys were, didn't see where the guy was, and just vacated in front of the net, which you should never do. But I mean, at some point, sometimes you got to tip your cap. And Malkin, that was just a great play off the draw. But it did help that obviously there was nobody covering Brazeau in the middle of the net, of the ice. But it was like it didn't feel like they had the same amount of catastrophic like defensive zone structure collapses that they did last year. I will say the ones when it did happen, it felt like it was a bit of a fluke. Like I want to bring up the one I'd seen a clip on Twitter. People were talking about Carson Soucy. I'm not the biggest Carson Soucy fan. None of us are the biggest Carson Soucy fan. But if you watch that clip and you thought, he gave up on the play, right? Come on. He lost the puck. He couldn't find the puck. It deflected off of something on the stanchion, and then it ended up with Brazeau, I think, hitting the post. So, or that one of their rookies hitting the post. Igor got a glove on it. I don't want to overreact to anything because it's game one. And also, I don't think they're a great team. So you're going to get performances like that every now and then. This one just so happened to be the first one of the year, and oddly enough, an extension of last year.
Yeah, I'll do the overreacting for you. And I think the only reason there weren't as many catastrophic defensive zone blow-ups is because they were playing the Pittsburgh Penguins, who you just described as one of the teams that's a front runner to be competing for that first overall pick. So that certainly helps. I think they had chances, especially the first period. I know from the angle that I was sitting on, I thought that Mika chance in front where he kind of spun around from like 2 feet out, it looked like it went in from our angle. And everybody in our section jumped up. And that was one of the ones where if you can get on the board first, even if you're not playing your best game against Pittsburgh, you could probably find a way to squeak out at least a point. And they had a couple of different chances like that throughout the first period. And then it's just a killer. And you could blame Lafreniere at the end there, but it's X's and O's versus situational awareness. And to me, that's a big disparity that the Rangers have compared to like the really good teams in the league, like Florida, right? The X's and O's there off the face-off, or Lafreniere's a winger, he's got to get out to his point guy. But situational awareness is if you see somebody's creeping in behind you on the draw like that, the guy out on the point is a little less dangerous than the guy standing by himself in the slot. And if you watch the really good teams, those types of plays don't happen to them because all 5 guys in the defensive end are thinking goal line out as opposed to thinking where I got to be. It's more reactionary for them as opposed to the Rangers, who are trying to do everything perfect on a chalkboard as opposed to in the actual game. And like the biggest part of their issues last night were the simple fact that when their defenseman had the puck, and I mean, Fox actually had a couple of good plays. He actually threw the body around, which I thought was funny considering everybody on Rangers, X was, he's not physical enough. He leveled a couple of people yesterday, but there's no first pass. Outlet passes are just a complete foregone conclusion that they're going to get turned over with this team. And that completely ruins any type of flow you can get through the neutral zone. And when they do have chances right now in that first game, they just didn't go in. And I mean, Seelovs, he played all right. He had clear sight on 95% of the chances, but there were a couple of grade A's that they just missed the net on or put it into his pads and couldn't get good wood on it. It wasn't a good game. And to look as slow and, kind of lethargic as you did in the opener against Pittsburgh, where you really should be beating, that to me was where the red flags went up more so than the fact that they just lost the game. It just wasn't a good visual from the team to have in the season opener with a new coach. And I mean, I look at Panarin, right? And we don't know what he was battling throughout the preseason, but he's done this before. If you're not going to play in the preseason, you better at least come out in the regular season with some juice. He was turning the puck over like crazy. JT Miller's banged up. You could clearly tell he was banged up. Don't play in that game. You have other options. Parsonen could have easily played one game as a center, and you would have been fine. I think they probably would have won if they had a healthy center there, because at least you have somebody moving their feet. So all around, it was a really tough 60-minute watch. Tougher the fact that I dropped money to go to that game, but it's just not good. But before I keep elaborating on how bad of a performance that was, we do have an interview that we're going to be dropping after this for everybody listening to their podcast. We talked to Colorado College's men's hockey coach, Chris Mayotte. He's giving us the inside scoop on what Noah Laba was like in college, what he's like as a person, both on and off the ice. So some great tidbits there from Chris. We really appreciate him taking the time. So if you're listening live, make sure you check this out. when it drops on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check out that interview as well.
So before I was actually about to get into Noah Laba, which, I mean, he looked fantastic. I mean, when you guys do listen to the interview from Chris Mayotte, like, you're going to understand what exactly what he told us, which was, we did the interview yesterday morning. So It was before the game. And, I think we sort of hyper-focused on Noah Laba and how his style of game. It's exactly what you'd expect. I mean, and I know there's only 3 games that were played yesterday, but he was matching Nathan McKinnon in top speed, at least according to NHL Edge, which, for a team that doesn't have a ton of speed up and down the lineup, having a guy, and again, you're 22 years old, like, those are the guys that should have the speed. But I mean, he looked like he was impactful. I know he had one really good chance that She Loves, I think, made the save on, or he shot it wide, but it's not like he was completely invisible, right? Like, he was there. He threw the body around a little bit. He was a pest. And he got at least one chance in that game, which, for your first National Hockey League game, that's good on especially if you're playing the third line role, right? Like, you could very easily not, from an offensive perspective, not really see any, good chances on that third line. To be able to go out there and create that third line, I thought looked really good with Sheary and Radish. Like, those guys, all 3 of them were all over the ice, and it felt like it felt like the same story of last year, right? Like, where the bottom 6 was doing their job, and they were doing their job well. Edstrom was flying around. It was great to see him back again. Carrick was flying around for a little bit. Rempe. I mean, he's just a big guy out there.
Coordinated NHL player I've ever seen in my life.
He does a job. He does a job. But again, that Lafreniere had his chances. Mika had, I think, 6 shots or something like that. Like, he was around. Was snake bitten again. Cooley, didn't see much out of Will Cooley yesterday. That was all too good. Trocheck was and then Panarin it looked like a guy that hasn't played a NHL game in 6 months. So, I mean, you got what you got, but I really liked what Noah Laba had. And I think at some point in the next month or so, you're going to see this, hopefully, pray to God, you see the infusion of the younger guys. Because again, it's one game, but if night in and night out you get the effort that you got yesterday, then it's just not good enough. They don't have the talent. They don't have the talent to play that way.
Yeah, it's not. And I mean, we've said it that the young guys are probably going to be coming around November time frame. And if it keeps going like this, I would imagine that's the case. But it being that I was there, right? And when I'm there, I love to watch certain players, especially in a debut like this for Noah Laba. You get to kind of see him, because I know when you're watching on TV, the camera necessarily, it follows the puck. You don't get to actually watch him throughout the whole play. And the fact that they were abysmal yesterday gave me several opportunities to just watch him on his shifts. Speed is evident, right? That this kid can move. And it's very clear that he has the puck smarts and he knows where to be on the ice. There were a couple of times throughout that game where he tried to make a couple of plays that were hero plays, and at the NHL level, it's not going to work. And they got picked off and turned the other way. But that's something that he'll learn from, especially after we talk to Chris about what his type of demeanor is as a player. So I saw nothing but good things from him. The turnovers, I think he'll clean up by himself. He'll learn from his mistakes. But there were times where the puck was just chipped to an area and he was flying after it. And that's something that the Rangers need. But it was also very clear, and this is not a knock on Noah Laba, I think it's more a knock on how the roster is constructed, that if the top 6 wasn't going to score that game, they weren't going to score at all. Edstrom had a good game. Rempe, he's Rempe. And Carrick, I thought, had some moments, but there were no moments from that line or the third line that were really grade A chances. They cycled hard. They forechecked hard. They did what you thought they would do, but there were no offensive chances. And that's a problem. I mean, if you look back at the good teams that the Rangers have had that have gone far in the playoffs, third, fourth line goals in the postseason. I mean, go back, a couple of years when Barclay Goodrow he turned into Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky combination, playing good defensive minutes and then also jumping into the play and getting huge goals. That is exactly what wins championships for teams. And they have the ability to have a third line and even a fourth line that has much more offensive impact if they just infuse the young players and let the veteran guys kind of fall to the wayside. That's not the Rangers' MO, and that's kind of why we're in this predicament. But I did think overall Laba played well. Outside of him, You saw flashes from Fox. You saw flashes from some other people. Zibanejad had a couple of chances, but their power play was kind of to the outside, and that's going to be an issue because now they don't have a net front presence in Kreider, and Zibanejad's still unwilling to take those one-timers. I hate when people on the power play dust the puck off. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. If you watch the Avalanche move the puck, some of the best power plays in the league move the puck, that puck is on and off the tape in a heartbeat. And if it's a shot, it is one time. You cannot dust the puck off at the NHL level. These guys are too good. I don't care if it's the Penguins. I don't care if it's the Sharks or the Florida Panthers. Doesn't matter. These are the 32 best teams in the world. If you give them a chance to set their feet, they will kill that penalty off. And the Rangers dust the puck off way too much. And the other thing that kind of pissed me off while I'm going off right now is it took them, one power play to then bump Loff up to PP1 and start making changes. If it is game 1 of 82, and that's going to be what you say in your post-game presser, you can't start making changes 10, 20 minutes into the game. It just that was a little weird to me, especially for a veteran head coach. And the motto for the preseason was no BS, and all I saw from that first game was BS. And I'm trying to not check off the explicit box when we post this, so that's why I went with the BS abbreviation, but I think you know where I'm going here.
No, like, it was funny. I'd seen people talking about that, then the whole no BS. Somebody's like, there's a lot of BS. I'm like, there was a whole lot of nothing. There was really just a lot of nothing. But when, power play, I realized, a lot last year was very stagnant, and it sort of felt the same last year where it's like nobody's moving. Like, if you watch, if you watch the good power plays, if you watch the Devils or the Avalanche, like, everybody's moving and everybody's in sync and everybody knows where they're going to be. I mean, you watch a Ranger power play and it's like everybody's feet are in quicksand. Like, nobody's
to their spot.
Nobody's moving off the puck to get open. And it's so easy to defend. And that's why you see a lot of these shots come from, Fox at the point or Miller at the point or me, like, and then you don't have anybody that gets to the front of the net. So, I mean, there's only so much that can change. And, it just feels like, I've said it a couple times already, it just feels like an extension of last year, at least through one game. So I'll be very excited to see what happens tomorrow in Buffalo. Obviously, I'll get your seat from last game and be able to watch the whole ice and not be stuck to listening to Ray Ferraro because, I mean, good Lord, it's painful. It is so painful. Listen, I have my mixed feelings about Sean McDonough. I will give him credit. That guy can do everything. I mean, him in college football, him doing baseball during the wild card, and now doing, obviously, this is the lead for hockey. Like, he's able to do so much. Ray Ferraro, I can't listen to him. It's just so hard. He's such a tough listen.
It really is. And that was a good thing about being there last night, is that I didn't have to listen to that broadcast, but I would have liked the goal. That's usually what you want to see when you go to a game, is at least one. It wasn't a good hockey game at all. And there's a lot that they have to figure out in a short time, because these 3 games, when you look at the schedule over the first month, these 3 games are really 3 that you kind of wanted to have. And now you already dropped 1. I'm not going to be able to watch the next 2 because I have, one of my best friends is getting married. So I have rehearsal dinner tomorrow. We got the wedding on Saturday. So depending on what the results are, maybe I won't watch any games this season if they go off. If they lose pretty badly, then I guess I'll consider myself lucky that I didn't get to witness it. But I have them recorded so I could analyze what's going on. But it's just, come on, man. Give me a game. The loudest moment of that game last night was when they showed Aaron Judge's home run.
He said it.
When I say that, I had no idea what was going on in the Yankee game, because I was like, their season's done. I'm here at MSG. I'm watching hockey. Hockey's, my number one. It takes precedent. There were people all around the lower bowl that were screaming. And I like screaming to the point where I thought there was like a fight in the crowd. Like, that's how loud they were getting in like certain sections. And then all of a sudden my buddy tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, Judge just hit a 3-run home run. They tied it. And then they put it on the board. So the only excitement that in that arena from last night was from a sporting event that was happening in the Bronx. Wasn't even happening at MSG. It was pitiful.
I was having such a successful hate watch between the Yankees and the Phillies in the divisional round. And that one just threw a wrench in it. But I think before we go, I mean, we got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's call it 5 games in between this show and the next, which is absurd. 5 games in 8 days. You're really, there are teams that won't start until, won't play their first game until tomorrow. So, very busy start to the year for the Rangers. Do you want to give predictions? 5 games?
I was really hoping you didn't ask me that.
Or if you're going to say 0-5, then this is every week we're just going to go 0-5 or 0 and however many games there are.
If you keep saying 0-5, and they win one, then you feel like you accomplished something that week. That's kind of a good way to look at it. What are they? They got Buffalo, they got Pitt again on Saturday, and they have Washington and Edmonton, right?
Yep. Then Toronto's the next one. So those are the 5. Okay.
I will go 2-2-1.
All right, that's not fun. I was going to go 2-2-1. So let's go 3-2-0. I think you steal one of those games at home, maybe against Washington. I would honestly, I think it's 3 in a row. I think they can go rattle off 3 in a row: Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Washington. Then you'll get some people that have jumped ship after game 1 back into it. But not a whole lot of good stuff to talk about this week because there was, on top of the fact that there was just no goal scored, there was just not a lot of anything.
No. And the worst part about this for me is that I can't jump ship because I just love watching it too much.
Then you'd be a loser.
Yeah, it's going to be a long 82. But I do think they go into Buffalo and win there because one of us has to see something good. And then I think that if you play Pitt again that close after what just happened, you bounce back there. So those are 2. Washington,
the good news for me,
Toronto.
The good news for me over the next 3 weeks is I will be going to 3 games. So if they go 0-3, then I might never go to a game again. But
that's it for Rangers Radio.
You'd figure there'd be 1 in there out of the 3 games. In 3 weeks.
I hope you at least see a goal. Yeah,
let's start. Yeah, you're right. Let's start with that. Let's start with the goal before we get ahead of ourselves.
I said to my fiance was at the game with me last night, and we got engaged this summer. So I said the Rangers haven't scored a goal or won a game since we've been engaged. So we're off to a rocky start.
Regular season, at least. I mean, they've won and scored in the preseason. The team themselves have scored a goal.
Doesn't count.
Listen, God forbid I try and be glass half full.
No such thing on this side of the camera right now. I will say that I do have some weird confidence for tomorrow. Just I think mainly because I won't be watching it, that I think that they'll play a little bit better. Also, you can't play worse. So I guess they can't play worse.
I wouldn't say that.
Who gets the start on Saturday against Pitt, and who gets to start Sunday? It's got to be quick Saturday, right?
Quick Saturday, I would think so. Also, by the way, you say it can't get worse. Remember the last time they played in Buffalo? Remember that?
I do, and it was worse.
5-0 at the end of 1.
It was worse. I don't know. JT Miller's already day to day again. They're talking about that. It's a tough start to the year. Not much went right for them in that span, and we didn't even talk about the fact that over the last 24 hours, plan A, B, C, and D are all off the board.
That's crazy. I mean, everybody's gone. Yeah. Everybody's gone.
Connor McDavid signed, Kyle Connor signed, Jack Eichel signed, Kirill Kaprizov signed. So this whole plan of you have $32 million in cap space next year, there's still going to be some names that are out there. But if this team has an abysmal year this year and you're at the top of that, draft order and you can get a good prospect, the whole purpose of that was, okay, we could also sign a big free agent. Now we could kind of revamp on the fly. But the more I watch them over this season, I'll give you more takes. But right now, my eyes are like, you probably should blow up this remaining core and build something else.
One of 82, and we're already talking about July. I love this. I'm a huge fan.
It looks like we're only going to be having to talk about an off season again.
What's gonna happen next year when this is 1 of 84? Then you got 2 extra games to talk about.
Then next year they're going to be better, right? It's all Rangers. They're always better next year.
All right,
always better next year.
I think we've exhausted our options here, but we've already talked about July. We'll have more games to talk about next week, so it won't just be a 1-game sample size that we can overreact to, as all of us, I'm sure, have done over the last 24 hours or so.
Yes, we will definitely have more to talk about next week, and I mean, this team's going to give us talking points, whether they're good or bad. So we'll get to experience it with you all over the course of this 82 game season, which seems much longer this year after last night than it would have before last night. And we'll see what happens. But I'm not a happy guy today, and I'll go watch the Yankees, hopefully not blow their season tonight. But if that happens, just puts a bow on my 24 hours.
I'd have a good night.
You would. I wouldn't. If you don't hear from me next week.
If I can watch the Yankees and Phillies lose tonight, I'll have a good night. I hate to break it to you.
Phillies can lose. I don't care. Yankees, please win. Bullpen game for Toronto. I can't. Too many sports going on right now. I miss the summer. Miss the summer.
And the fact that it's cold, but whatever.
Not cold here. That's a you thing. All right. Well, we'll chat next week. We'll see what happens over the next 4 this week for the Rangers, but tough start for the season for them. If you're listening live and you didn't hear, we have an interview with Colorado College's head hockey coach, Chris Mayotte, talking about Noah Laba. That will drop exclusively on the podcast platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. So make sure you download that later tonight to check out that full interview.
See you guys.